So we'll do a one-time setup. So we'll create a new machine, a new material, and then we can show off the e-commerce widget as well as the internal quotation tools. So we can go to machines and materials, and then what we can do is we can select our technology. So if we wanted to go with 3D printing, we can choose that, or we could choose to go with CNC. On the CNC side of it, we can click create a new machine and choose the different technology. So we currently support CNC milling, CNC lathe, as well as a 2D cutting. So if we're using a plasma cutter, water jet, laser cutter, or another tool, we can quote for that as well. Let's choose a CNC milling machine. And we already have a bunch of template machines. But if you want to have a custom machine, or if you've modified the machine in any way, you can always create your own custom machine. For this example, let's just choose the Haas. We've automatically entered in the maximum travel size as well as a minimal part size. With this minimal part size, what we can do is we can create different pricing algorithms for different size parts. So what we can do is we can make the very small parts more expensive and make the very larger parts much cheaper. So a lot of shops like breaking up their pricing algorithms into multiple different bins, so we can charge differently for very small, medium, and large parts. We also have the ability to add a per part fee. So if we wanted to set up just a regular handling fee, we can set this up on a machine basis as well as on a material basis. And then what we can do is we can hold parts for manual review. So this way, if there's more than a certain amount of parts ordered, we can automatically hold it for the shop to review it. I'm going to skip the complexity bracketing, and we can get back to that in a little bit later. With our machine specs, the main thing that we care about is the machine speed of how much material can the machine remove in an hour. For this example, let's go with 750 cubic centimeters per hour. We also can change the number of axes. So if we were to modify the machine to have a fourth axis, we can support that as well. And then we can set our price per hour. So we can set that to be $100 per hour. Next comes tolerance. And with our tolerance, we can set up multiple different tolerances. So we can have a plus minus 1 millimeter, and then let's have a 1/10 of a millimeter. With this, since we have a higher tolerance, we can also add an additional margin. So it's a great way to upsell customers if they need these higher tolerance parts. In this case, we can set up a 30% margin for these tighter tolerances. We also have the full ability to rename them. So I know a lot of shops in the United States don't like working the metric system. So if we wanted to say plus minus some fraction of an inch, we can support that as well. So we can make it so the customer facing side will all be in inches and they won't have to deal with thinking about it in the metric system. We do have the ability for feature recognition. So if we wanted to add additional holes or additional taps for each part, we can add that on a per feature basis. I'm going to skip it for this pricing algorithm, but when we upload a part, we can show off how that looks. And then finally, we have our lead times. And with our lead times, we have the ability to create multiple different lead times with, again, additional margins as upsells to customers. So if we want to be like general pattern, we can have a 2-day rush lead time with an additional 50% margin. It's a great way for shop to add additional revenue by allowing parts to cut the line if the customer needs it. Finally, we can save our machine, and now we can go create a material. We have a list of common machining metals, but if a shop is using plastics or another material, they can always create the custom material. So for this example, we can choose stainless steel. If we want to redisplay the name to the customers as something different, we can support that as well as adding any additional material notes and a material spec sheet. So this way the end user has the full information they need to know about the material that they're getting. Next, we have our startup and programming cost. So the startup cost is able to be assigned on multiple different metrics, including every unique model, every unique order, every unique metric. So if we're changing different tolerances, we can apply it twice, or other settings. And then our programming cost is only applied with every unique model. So for this example, we can set up a $100 programming cost for all models. Next, we get to our material specs. And with our material specs, we have how we can better calculate it. So the first one is our minimal wall thickness. And what this is this will notify the customer if the part is too thin and will recommend maybe they change it. So it's a great first line of defense if a customer uploads a very thin part. In this example, I'm going to set it to 2 millimeters, and this way we'll be able to flag a part when we upload it later on, and we can show you what that error looks like. The next thing is the machinability rate, and the machinability rate is based off of fancy standards, and we've automatically populated what a typical shop will use for different metals. However, not all shops work in a perfect theoretical way. So let's say the shop is very proficient at machining stainless steel compared to other metals. what we can do is we can manually come in and change the machinability rate. So it's a great way to take the theoretical real world data and better match what the shop's actual machining rate is for these different metals. We're also able to account for work hardening of the metal and then the additional material added to the bounding box. So with this, we'll be able to determine which is the right bar stock for the part. When we come to material costs, we have 3 different ways that we can charge. We can charge off of round bar stock. We can charge off of bar stock, round stock, as well as a price per kilogram. And shops can choose to set up whichever way they want. So for this example, we can choose bar stock. We can set the size of it to be 6,000, 6,200. And what we can do is we can charge off of either length of material, area, or surface area. So I prefer going off of squaring, and we can charge something like 25 cents per square centimeter. We can also create another option, and let's have it be 400 millimeters thick. What we can do is then change the price of squaring to be something close to 50 cents. So this is a great way for shops to enter in all the different metals that they're using, and we'll automatically determine which is the next largest size to machine the part out of. So this way, we'll automatically determine which is the next which is the best bar stock to use to machine the metal. And with this, we can then create the new pricing depending on which bar stock we're using. Finally, we have post-production. So if we wanted to offer polishing or grinding or some other post-production for the part, we can support that. So if we were to polish the parts, for example, we can choose to charge off multiple different metrics. We can choose to charge off the model surface area, the model volume itself, the bounding box, or just a per part fee. So if we were to polish the part, what we can do is charge something like 25 cents per square centimeter. We can set a minimal price of $5 per part. And then if we want to rename this for the customer and forward facing, we can change this as well as add a note to the user. Now we can save our material. Now we can save our material and we can quickly go over the complexity bracketing. So the other big thing that we have is a complexity bracketing system. And with this, we analyze how complex each part is to machine, and we can multiply the cycle times off of it. Since every single shop isn't able to handle as complex parts at the same rate, what we're able to do is create different bins. So we can say a very simple part has the cycle time multiplier of 1, and let's say the shop overquotes very complex parts, maybe the cycle time multiplier for a highly complex part is 4. Or if it's the other way around where a shop is very proficient at very highly complex models, but if they overquote very simple models, we can capture that too. So it's another way to help customize away from the theoretical data and match it to the real world data of a shop. Once we set up our complexity bracketing, we finish setting up the machine. And now what we can do is we can go over to the e-commerce widget. So to install the e-commerce widget on any website, it's as simple as copying 1 line of code. And the e-commerce widget looks something similar to this. Depending on the pricing model, any shop can allow customers to upload up to 30 models at a time, up to 300 megabytes per file. We currently support STL, OBJ, WRL, STEP, IGEST, 3MF, and DXF. A lot of our CNC shops, we highly recommend only allowing STEP and IGEST files, but shops can configure which model types they allow. At this point, anyone's able to upload a model, but prior to being able to receive pricing, they have to create an account. And that way the shop is able to track the customer as well as see what other models they've uploaded, and they're able to better track and see what the customer is doing through the e-commerce widget. Once a customer also has an account, they have a library, and inside the library, they're all able to see all past previously uploaded parts. So for this example, we can choose our logo and also show off the feature recognition with the feature recognition part. So with our we can quickly hop over to the DigiFabster logo. With this part, we can choose our CNC technology. And what we can do is choose the stainless steel that we set up earlier. Inside of here, we can set our tolerances. So we can choose our thicker tolerance as well as a different priority. And if we wanted to have the part polished, we can choose to pay for that as well. When we're happy with this, we can add this to our cart, and then we can continue on to the next model. What we wanted to show here is with our lathe setting, is that we do have the ability to have different costs for each hole. So for example, we have one axial hole here, one radial hole here. So inside of our feature recognition, we have this, as well as we can show the customer what the diameter is, and we can even have them choose if they want it to be threaded or not threaded, and we can change the price in real time. So for example, if it's not threaded, this price might only be $40 as opposed to threading, which can increase the price dramatically. When we're happy with both these parts, we can add them to our cart, and then proceed to the cart. Inside the cart, we're able to see a picture of both parts, the material, and the specifications. We can also change the quantity. We have 4 different types of discounts, and one of them is the batch discount. So we can automatically apply discounts if the customer is ordering more than one part. So if a customer is ordering 10 parts, we can automatically give them a discount. The other types of discount we have are a promo discount. So customers enter in a special code and they'll automatically get a discount. And we also have a loyalty discount. So we can say if this customer from this email address is ordering another part, automatically get them a discount. So in this case, my email linked up to this account automatically gets a 30% discount on all orders here. Continuing on to the next step, we have delivery options. So with delivery, customers can enter in their address and will automatically determine shipping rates. And we can work with multiple different providers, including UPS, USPS, FedEx, DHL, and more. And shop can also add in their own custom courier services as well. And if a shop does have negotiated rates with any of those providers, we also support that. The other option that we have is a local pickup. So if the customer just wants to come into the shop and pick up the parts, we can allow that, depending on if the shop offers that to their customers or not. Continuing on to the next step is we have our summary page. On our summary page, the first thing we have is the promo codes. So if we did want to allow customers to enter in a special code to get a special discount on the order, we can supply that as well. We also have the ability to add any additional notes. So if there was a critical phase on the part or something else that the customer wanted to notify the shop about, we have the ability to allow customers to know about that. And we also have the ability for customers to add files. So if we want engineering drawings with parts, we can allow customers to upload them. We also have the option to force customers to upload them. So what we can do is prior to being able to receive pricing, customers also have to upload the engineering drawings. So this way the shops are fully informed about the model in question. If shops prefer using purchase order numbers, we can allow that, as well as what we can offer is a direct payment using a credit card or either PayPal. And then normally at this step, customers would be able to play right here, but we held this order for review. So since this order is over $1,000, we can automatically hold it for review so someone in the shop has to review it and approve of it. Since this order is being held for review, we can view this estimate. And again, we have pictures of the parts, models, material, specifications, quantity, and then the total price. When I'm happy with this, I can submit this order for review. And just like that, the shop has the order and they now have the ability to fully edit the price and then send out the billing instructions to the customer. So if we go back into the billing instructions, we can go to our orders. We can go to our most recent order, which we just placed, and we can see the 2 models that we purchased. Since these models are held for review, we can manually change the price if we wanted to. So let's change this to $8,000 and we can give them a slight discount. We also have the full ability if we want to change this to $50, we have the ability to do so. We can also change post-production, priority price, or any other price related to the model. The other thing we can do is we can add in an additional service. So let's say the customers then emailed you and decided that they needed the parts painted, for example. We can create additional service of paint and set an additional price of $200. We can add this in, and then we can send out the firm offer to the customer. And in this new offer, they'll have the additional painting charges as well as the modifications that we've done to the pricing of the parts. We can view this by if we generate a new invoice. What will happen is we can see that we have our new price as well as we had this additional cost for painting of $200. So it's a great way if the customer does come back and needs something modified, we have the ability to modify it for them. We also have packing lists, which a lot of our shops use as travelers. So with this, when we are machining the parts, we have the ability to see what was in the order, what the material is, the tolerances, and the lead time, as well as the quantity. So it's a great way for shops to be able to keep track of all orders. And with this, depending on if they're working off of an ISO standard or something else, we have the ability to modify the checks. So we can have a dimensional check or a visual check. So if it's more of an art piece and we care about more of the aesthetics over form, we can have different checks for that as well. So it's very flexible on which checks the shops want to have. We can also resend the bill to the customer if they lost their email or if they want it resent. We can quickly bulk download the models, and then what we can do is repeat the order. So if the customer comes back in 6 months needing the same exact order, we can create that order for them with the click of a button. The other big thing we have are statuses. So what happens is whenever the customer is paid, the payment status will automatically be updated. So it's a great way to keep track of all orders. And when we're keeping track of all orders, what we have are order statuses. And with this, we can even notify customer what's going on with their part. So let's tag the part as currently in manufacturing. We can update that. And just like that, the customer will get an email letting them know that their part's currently being manufactured. So it's a great way to allow the customer to know exactly what's going on with their part through the entire production cycle. If shops are using an ERP or another software, we can also have it so the ERP updates DigiFabster, and then we'll notify the customer that way. So shops won't need to enter the information twice. The other thing that we can do is if shops, depending on how often they want to send notifications, we can send a notification for any of these order statuses, or what we can do is we can make it so only when the part's currently being shipped or ready for delivery, we'll notify the customer. So it's configurable on a shop, also depending on how much information they wish to give to the end user. Besides just tracking orders, we also track abandoned carts. So every single time a customer uploads a part besides not checkout, we can track it as well. And then what we can do is we send a very friendly reminder 1 hour afterwards, reminding them that they have the part in the cart. And 24 hours afterwards, we'll send a very quick questionnaire to find why they decided not to check out. So if the material was too expensive, or if they need a different material, or if they need a quicker lead time, for example. It's a great way to find out what potential customer needs are. And a lot of our shops have been able to use this to grow their customer base almost exponentially by finding out what the potential customers in the area really need. And then besides abandoned carts, we can also track drafts of every single time a customer uploaded a part without checking out at all. Quickly, we'll go through the internal quotation tool. The internal quotation tool is very similar to the e-commerce widget. It's just slightly more advanced. So if a customer was to email the customer, if the customer is to email the shop a part, we can add in their information to the database, or if it's a repeat customer, we can choose from the library themselves. We can then choose myself, and then when we continue on to the next step, what we can do is choose to upload a model or choose to go into our library. For this example, we can choose our impeller, and we can choose FDM technology, for example. So with this, we have the ability to choose different technologies, and we're even able to compare prices in real time. So for example, if MJF is a better deal, we can go with that, or FDM is cheaper, so we can go with that. One of the big differences in the internal quotation tool is if shops choose to, we have the ability to reorient models. So if we wanted to be able to reorient this at 45 degrees, for example, we can support that as well. It's currently disabled on this count, but we do give shops the full ability to reorient models if they choose to. The other big difference in the internal quotation tool, as opposed to the e-commerce widget, is we have the ability to add these services directly as a line item. So as opposed to the customer having to then email you back requesting for additional painting, for example, we can add the paint right on this step. So we can create, again, that $200 painting charge, and this will appear directly on that first invoice that the customer sees. We can, again, choose the different delivery options. And then when we're happy with this, we can review the firm offer. And the firm offer is what the customer will see. So they're able to see that we're uploading one impeller, we're using PLA and the specifications. When we're happy with this, what we can do is then send the offer out to the customer. Just like that, the customer has the quote along with payment instructions if they choose to purchase the part. So we have a full white label service, as well as what we can do is fully customize the widget. So this is what a normal widget typically for shop looks like. We can have it matched in their colors, logos, branding, but it's fully editable through CSS. So with this, if we wanted to have our widget that is green and have just a notification that's a demo count, it's fully customizable as well. And with CSS, if we wanted to go even more advanced and move placement of buttons or completely hide buttons, we support that as well. We've had some shops who've created a widget which at the beginning I didn't even recognize as their own. So it's really up to the shop depending on how much they want to customize it, if they want to keep it something like this, or if they just want to match their colors and logos, or they can go full out and fully customize the widget. And then quickly, I'll go through some of the other advanced features of DigiFabster, just so you're able to see some more of the back end of what's going on. One of the big things about DigiFabster is it's fully white labeled, so end users won't know that they're using DigiFabster. So on the widget itself, we won't display it's DigiFabster, and then with CSS, we can even hide the widget so it won't even look like a default DigiFabster template widget. We also have the ability, a big one with this is the email templates. So not only can we modify the email templates to look different, we can also have all emails coming from an email domain that the shop owns. So again, end users will never know that they're using DigiFabster at all. A very big thing about DigiFabster is we make it as easy as possible for shops to be able to access the data inside of it. So if we wanted to download our customer list, our order list, or any other information, make it downloadable through CSV. The other option is we can do some integration and automatically update a CRM or other software to be able to store this information automatically. A big one that our shops generally love using is tracking. So with this, we can track Google Analytics, but not only if a customer clicks the page, for example, which most other tracking softwares do. We can help track to see if the customer actually has uploaded a part, or if they've uploaded a part and added to the cart, or if they even checked out and purchased a part. So with this, we can see if we're going after that right demographic, because not all clicks are created the same. So this way we can see if we're going after that right demographic of people actually ordering parts, as opposed to just scrolling through the website. A very big thing also is our API access. So if we are using an ERP or other software, we can send and manage the information as possible. With our full access API, we've had some customers who've created their own front-end widget from scratch. And what all it's doing is sending the models to DigiFabster with the customer settings. We're returning a price and they're displaying it to the customer. So depending on the workflow, we have the full ability to modify that as well. If shops wish to modify DigiFabster in any other way, we offer custom development work. So we can even better integrate the software into their workflow. So if they're wanting us to integrate with a different platform, or if they want to modify steps or maybe modify the pricing algorithms to add in an additional cost, for example, we can support that. A very big one, depending on each shop, is the dedicated storage. So with this, we have a regular AWS version. We have an ITAR compliant as well as an on-premise solution. And on top of that, we can also periodically purge models. This we found is almost split 50-50. Some shops prefer keeping models indefinitely. And this way, if the customer comes back 2 years later wanting the same part manufactured, we're able to provide it for them. Other shops prefer not keeping models in the cloud. So what we can do is we can automatically purge models. So what a typical shop will do is something like after 24 days or 12 days or some other set period of time, we'll automatically remove the models from the shop. So this way customers don't have to worry about their models being saved to the server anywhere. As shown a little bit earlier, we do have feature recognition with our CNC side. So if we wanted to add an additional cost for each hole or each shaft, we support that as well. And then one of the newest features that we recently launched is our sales dashboard. And inside of the sales dashboard, customers are able to get better metrics of what their customers are ordering, as well as they can better keep track of their customers. So we can quickly show off our sales dashboard. And inside the sales dashboard, we can see how many orders, if we want to see it on the last 3 months, 6 months, or a chosen period. What we can also do is see different customers. So I can see that on my demo account, I'm purchasing all of the models. But if we were to use different accounts, we can also support that as well. So shops can better see if a new customer is ordering a lot and then starting to taper off, or if a customer is tapering off overall. So it's a great way for shops to be able to track their customers and see what their customers are currently doing.